Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual on Firstpost, where we get you the top 50 stories from around the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin. We start with a focus in West Asia, where Israel continues to pound Lebanon. According to the Lebanese Health Ministry, 2 Israeli missiles struck central Beirut, killing at least 4 people and injuring 18 others. One of the missiles struck an area near the Lebanese government's headquarters. Now, Hezbollah fires a barrage of rockets at Israel. Israeli authorities said the attack killed at least 1 and injured several others. Rockets fired from Lebanon hit the city of Ramat Gan near Tel Aviv, and the air raid triggered sirens and damaged buildings in the area. Hezbollah agrees to a U.S. proposal for a ceasefire with Israel, suggests reports citing Lebanese officials. The reports describe this as Hezbollah and Lebanon's most serious effort to end the conflict. Israel is yet to comment on Hezbollah's response. In Brazil, leaders of the G20 nations posed for the official photograph amidst the summit in Rio de Janeiro. However, U.S. President Joe Biden, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni missed the portrait as they were in a trilateral meeting. They arrived after the leaders got off stage. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also in Rio de Janeiro for the G20 summit. The Indian Prime Minister held bilaterals with the U.S. President Joe Biden and his Italian counterpart Giorgia Meloni. He also met the leaders of Indonesia, Portugal, Norway, and Spain. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met with his UK counterpart, Keir Starmer, for the first time in Rio de Janeiro. The 2 leaders held bilateral talks on the sidelines of the G20 summit. The UK announced the relaunch of negotiations over Free Trade Agreement, or the FTA, with India. Now, the FTA talks first began in 2022 and were halted in March 2024 after the 14th round. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also expected to meet with his Chinese counterpart, President Xi Jinping, today. The talks might take place on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Rio. The meeting with Chinese leaders comes amidst the Indian Prime Minister's series of bilaterals. The 2 leaders earlier met on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Kazan last month. India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, meets with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi in Rio de Janeiro on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Brazil. During the talks, Jaishankar said that both sides noted the progress in the recent India-China border disengagement. The 2 leaders also discussed bilateral ties and global issues. And Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to visit India. The dates for his visit are yet to be announced. The Kremlin's press secretary, Dmitry Peskov, said, and I quote, "We are working on the dates," and Putin's visit follows Prime Minister Modi's 2-day diplomatic visit to Moscow in July. And continuing with India, in a dramatic 2-hour-long chase, Indian Coast Guard rescued 7 fishermen from a Pakistani ship. The Indian fishermen were apprehended by a Pakistani ship off the coast of Gujarat, near the India-Pakistan maritime boundary. According to the Indian officials, the Pakistan vessel attempted to retreat, but it was intercepted. A Hong Kong court sentences 45 pro-democracy activists. Now, the sentence period varies from 4 to 10 years. The activists are penalized under the national security law. They have been charged for organizing a primary poll for opposition candidates in 2020 against the backdrop of the 2019 pro-democracy movement. The poll aimed at challenging Beijing's agenda in local elections. And in mainland China, a vehicle ran into students and pedestrians outside a primary school. The incident in the Hunan province left several people injured. Videos of a man being beaten with sticks and rods by crowds have surfaced. Who caused the crash is not yet clear. And in New Zealand, Maori protesters concluded their 9-day march in Wellington today. Thousands were seen rallying outside New Zealand's parliament. Now, the stir marks opposition to a bill that aims to reinterpret the 184-year-old treaty. Now, this was signed by the British and Maori community chiefs. The opposition believes that the bill dilutes Maori rights. And in climate news, at the ongoing G20 summit in Brazil, leaders failed to make significant progress on stalled climate talks. The Rio summit did not end with firm commitments to the UN's call for climate funding for developing nations. Their joint statement vaguely mentioned mobilizing trillions from all sources. Meanwhile, demonstrators took to the streets and beaches to call for an increased climate funding as the G20 summit opened in Rio de Janeiro. Protests set up a large installation in Copacabana, urging taxing billionaires to address the climate crisis. And in Copenhagen, a flood defense tunnel is under construction. It is designed to store 10,000 cubic meters of water in case of intense rainfall. The tunnel will be able to divert and pump out flood water in just 10 minutes. The project follows a 2011 flood that caused over $1 billion in damage. And parts of the Great Barrier Reef have experienced record coral mortality. The surveyed reefs show up to 72% coral death. The data was released by the Australian Institute of Marine Science. And according to scientists, a summer marked by mass bleaching, cyclones and flooding led to the largest annual decline in hard corals in nearly 40 years of monitoring. Ecuador has declared a 60-day national emergency to combat raging forest fires, intensified by a severe 120-day drought. Currently, 13 wildfires remain active, with over 10,000 hectares of land torched in the worst-hit provinces, Ozair and Loja. And smog continues to choke northern India. In the capital of New Delhi, some parts recorded an air quality index of nearly 1,500 yesterday. The capital city and its nearby regions remain shrouded in dense smog. Flights were delayed, diverted and cancelled due to low visibility. The government has asked schools and colleges to begin online classes. And in the Philippines, at least 8 died after Super Typhoon Manyi hit the region. It is the 6th storm to hit the nation in less than a month. The storm also triggered landslides and heavy rainfall. It is now projected to make landfall in Vietnam. And on to business and tech news now. 2 undersea internet cables in the Baltic Sea were cut. Local telecommunication companies managing the cables have informed that these cables connected Lithuania and Sweden and Finland with Germany. Finland and Germany issued a joint statement on the incident. They said that the incident is under investigation and raises suspicions of sabotage. The U.S. Justice Department is reportedly planning to force Alphabet to sell its Chrome browser. The Justice Department will ask a court to force the divestment at Google's parent firm. Earlier this year, the court ruled that Google has illegally monopolized the internet search market. The Justice Department is set to recommend remedies to end this monopoly. And India's competition watchdog, the Competition Commission of India, has fined Meta's messaging platform WhatsApp. It is being penalized for sharing its user data with Meta's other platforms for online advertisements. Now, WhatsApp has also been ordered to stop the data sharing, which began in 2021. A German court has ruled that millions of Facebook users are eligible for compensation. The ruling came in a case related to the 2021 data breach. At the time, a feature allowed people to access data of Facebook users via their phone numbers. Hackers were able to access the data of around 533 million users, which they then leaked online. And Donald Trump's social media company is reportedly in talks to buy crypto trading firm and the Georgia-based firm provide software services for owning and trading cryptocurrency. After the report broke, shares of Bacty's owner, Intercontinental Exchange, rose by over 60% yesterday. And OpenAI CEO Sam Altman is joining the transition team of San Francisco's mayor. He has been appointed as co-chair of the transition team for the city's newly elected mayor, Daniel Lurie. Altman will advise the Democrat on key issues such as drug use and homelessness in the city. SpaceX's Falcon 9 blasted off from Florida with the Indian communications satellite GSAT-20. The satellite is designed by the commercial arm of the Indian Space Research Organization. It aims to provide vital services in India, including internet connectivity in remote areas. And Boeing has laid off about 2,200 U.S. workers as a part of its massive job cut plan. The information was revealed in a filing by the plane maker in Washington state. Workers at the Boeing facilities in Washington, Missouri, Arizona, and South Carolina are among those affected. The plane maker has announced plans to cut 17,000 jobs globally. The U.S. launched 2 probes against the automaker Ford. The probes are regarding a recent vehicle recall implemented by the firm. The recall included 457,000 Ford Bronco sports SUVs and Maverick small pickups. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration will investigate whether the recall was effective. And Japan's Nippon Steel has made more concessions in an effort to complete the takeover of U.S. Steel. Nippon is looking to close its $14.9 billion deal by the end of the year. The firm's vice president said that they will not import steel to the U.S. from its international plants. The move aims to appease U.S. steelworkers who fear that Nippon's takeover might affect their jobs. And moving on to sports news, and we start with cricket. Australia beat Pakistan by 7 wickets in their final T20 international match in Hobart. Batting first, Pakistan were all out for 117 runs. Australia chased down the target with 7 wickets and 52 balls to spare. With this, Australia won the T20 series 3-0. And the mounting uncertainty over the ICC Champions League schedule could soon be over. Now, reports suggest that the International Cricket Council is likely to finalize and announce the Champions League schedule by the end of this week. And this comes after India declined to play in Pakistan over security reasons. And New Zealand's pacer Doug Bracewell has been suspended for 1 month after testing positive for cocaine use. The 34-year-old tested positive for cocaine use on the 13th of January this year. His suspension was backdated to commence on the 11th of April, which means that he has already served his 1-month ban and can resume playing cricket at any time. In football news, the Nations League quarter-final lineup is now complete. This comes after Croatia and Denmark secured draws in their respective matches yesterday. While Denmark played a goalless draw against Serbia, Croatia shared a 1-1 tie against Portugal. Denmark and Croatia join France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Portugal, and the Netherlands in the final 8 of the Nations League. And Israel beat Belgium 1-0 in their Nations League game in Budapest. Debutant Yarden Shua has scored an 86-minute goal for Israel. Despite this win, Israel stands relegated from the Nations League top tier after an overall poor show this season. And India played a 1-1 draw with Malaysia yesterday. Malaysia's Paulo Josu had scored the opening goal in the 19th minute. India's Rahul Beck hit the back of the net before the end of the first half. With the result, India finished 2024 without winning a single match from their 11 games. And in tennis news, German pair Kevin Kravitz and Tim Puez won the men's doubles title at the ATP Finals. The 8 seeds downed the top-ranked pair Marcelo Arevalo and Mate Pavic 7-6, 7-6. Kravitz and Puer sealed the victory in a game which lasted 1 hour and 38 minutes. And the David Cup finals will begin in Spain's Malaga today, and this will be the tennis great Rafael Nadal's last professional tournament, and Nadal will be surrounded by a home crowd and his teammates, including Carlos Alcaraz. Spain will face off against Netherlands in the Davis Cup finals, but the spotlight will be entirely on Rafael Nadal. And in hockey, India will play Japan in the semi-final of the Women's Asian Champions Trophy. India won 3-0 in their last league game against Japan. Now, the women in blue have remained unbeaten throughout the league stage. The other semi-final will see Malaysia take on Paris Olympic silver medalist China. And the Canadian Grand Prix will be held in late May rather than early June from 2026 onwards. This comes as a part of Formula One's attempts to reduce carbon emissions. Now, the rescheduling will cut down freight carriage transport by half and will reduce the overall Formula One carbon footprint. And moving on to news from the world of showbiz. Singer Beyoncé is all set to perform at the Houston Texans vs. Baltimore Ravens game. It will take place in the singer's hometown, Houston. She is expected to sing the songs from the Cowboy Carter album. And singer Adele is now reportedly engaged to her beau, Rich Paul. Now, during her performance in Las Vegas, she was seen wearing a flashy ring. She flaunted her pear-shaped diamond while performing the song, I Drink Wine. And singer Ed Sheeran says that charity group Band Aid is using his voice without permission. The group will be releasing an ultimate mix of their old single, Do They Know It's Christmas? Sheeran performed in the 2014's version of the song. He said if he had a choice, then he would have declined the use. And South Korean band Stray Kids have decided to take their Dominate World Tour to the US. After their Asian and Australian leg, they will now perform 20 locations across America, Europe, and the UK. It will run through July 2025. And 2025's Glastonbury Festival is sold out. The tickets were exhausted in merely 35 minutes. The organizers added that the resale of cancelled and returned tickets will take place in spring of 2025. Over 200,000 people are expected to attend the event, where nearly 3,000 performances will take place. The event will be held in June in England. And actor Angelina Jolie has been accused of witchcraft and harassment. A woman from Los Angeles has filed a lawsuit seeking a restraining order. She alleges a series of disturbing actions like hypnotic threats. The woman claims that Jolie has been stalking her houses since 2010. She has also asked for financial compensation for legal fees. And British actor Josh O'Connor has been roped in for Steven Spielberg's next film. He will star alongside Emily Blunt in the film. Other notable actors in the film are Colin Firth, Coleman Domingo, and Eve Hewson. The details are not yet available. The film will release in 2026. And Canadian actor Tom Cavanagh's role in Superman and Lois will finally be out, and he returned to the DC universe as the TV journalist. This comes after he was last seen in The Flash, which ended its 9-season run last year. And the makers of the film Wicked have decided to make Christmas more special for their viewers. They will organize sing-along screenings of the film in nearly 1,000 North American cinemas. The film will release on the 22nd of November. And American record producer Quincy Jones was felicitated with an honorary posthumous Oscar award. The award was accepted by his daughter and actor Rashida Jones. He died at the age of 91, battling pancreatic cancer. Jones has produced music for legends like Frank Sinatra and Michael Jackson. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.